I must applaud them. You are working as a well-oiled team, and inshallah, under your able leadership, I'm sure NEPRA will rise to new heights, because the direction you will set and the good things we are hearing is going to be instrumental in the energy sector of Pakistan. Let me just give you a brief overview of what this sector means for Pakistan. But before that, you mentioned that you've come in challenging times. Mr. Chairman, when you came here to Pakistan, you were selected for this position. When we met, so I thought of a terminology. It's called a smoke jumper. For those of you who don't know what a smoke jumper is, you can Google it, but let me just briefly tell you what a smoke jumper is. And Mr. Malik is smiling, so I think he knows what a smoke jumper is. A smoke jumper is that when there is a raging inferno, when there's a fire in some of the North American countries, even in what is now Russia, where they have large forests, what happens is that they parachute in a group of firefighters who parachutes in with basic equipment, and they try to contain the fire. And they redirect the fire, and then they redirect other aircraft and other resources to put out that fire. So, Mr. Chairman, you are a smoke jumper. So you have a challenging, you and your team. So you know, you got a challenging task ahead of you. But let me just reiterate of what the energy sector of Pakistan is. Where is it headed? The petroleum as well as the power, because they are interlinked. At the end of the day, just before coming for this function, I was with our team in the morning. Since about 8:30, we were working on this very factor of how to address the concerns of and complaints of the consumers on the ground. Day in and day out, our Chief Executive ISCO is over here. He is the person, and his colleagues are the people whose teams are responsible to the people. Which brings me to another small story I'll just tell you. There was a book, it's called The Moment of Truth. Highly recommended. It's not a very thick book. You can be done with it within 24 hours, you can read it. During our MBA class, in the management class, we were asked to read that book. And in it, ladies and gentlemen, the moral of the story was that it was about a struggling Scandinavian airline, government-owned struggling Scandinavian airline. Seats were empty. It was not making profits. One chief executive of the company came, and what did that person do? He empowered the person at the booking table, at the front desk, who interacted, he or she interacted with the customers, and empowered them to make correct and transparent decisions. And within a year and a half, 2 years, the airline was turned around. That is what we have to do in the power sector and energy sector as well. Our moment of truth, Mr. Chairman, the symphony that you showed, I'm glad you showed it, because you are the conductor of the symphony. All these stakeholders who are reporting to you are part and parcel of that team. And only teamwork is going to succeed in this endeavor to bring about affordable, to bring about reliable energy to the people of Pakistan. And I'm going to talk about the industry as well. But let's dwell about the customer. When a customer picks up a phone for a call center, either he dials 118 or the nearest STO's office, when that call is responded to and action is taken within the shortest possible time of fixing his or her transformer on the ground, that customer is not concerned about the megawatts or the gigawatts of energy or what sort of energy is required. That person is satisfied because his or her complaint was addressed in a transparent and the shortest possible period of time. Now, going forward, the technologies are there that we make our officers accountable for it. And that's what we're also doing in the Ministry of Power. And with your help and your interaction, because you are the regulator, we want to make those metrics transparent so that the officers of Mr. Shahid and other chief executive officers from the STO, the lineman level onwards, their promotion, their ACRs are linked to how they can provide the energy to the customers without fault. That is their job. And that is what they should be accountable for. Then comes the side of the energy mix. Unfortunately today, the energy mix that we have today is lopsided towards imported energy. More than 60% of our energy is coming from outside. What does that mean for a nation of Pakistan? That we are sending out dollars, our current account balance is being affected. We are open to exchange rate vagaries, exchange rate variations. We have to reverse that mix, and it is the stated policy of our government that we are going to push hard to reverse this mix so that by the year 2030, the portion of our energy that is dependent on indigenous sources, the ratio of today of 60-40, 60% imported, 40% local, is completely reversed to 70% local indigenous resources and less than 30% on any other fuels. That's our target. And how do we achieve that? With the alternate renewable energy policy, we gave it to the board members of the Renewable Energy Board, the Alternate Energy Renewable Board. The provinces are going to come to us. By 2025, almost 20% of the energy mix is going to be renewable. By 2030, inshallah, 30% of the energy is going to be on renewable basis. This excludes hydel. When you include 30% of hydel, this goes to 60%. This does not include charcoal. We are going to ramp up charcoal. The energy investments that are going to be made there are going to be invested upon so that there is another local source of energy. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we have got our nuclear resources. We are actively pursuing our nuclear energy sources so that we can increase this matrix. So once that happens, what will happen? Today, the cost of renewable energy is going down. What we are hitting is 4.5 cents. Once the cost of energy goes down, the people of Pakistan will benefit. It will become more affordable. That one benchmark that we are talking about, we will not be open to the vagaries of the international markets, be it price volatility in the energy source or in the foreign exchange. Another important factor, ladies and gentlemen, is that for any government, what are you looking at? You're looking about the well-being of the people of your country, and in this case, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf government takes the well-being of the people of Pakistan extremely seriously. The Prime Minister, in every meeting, just day before yesterday, we had about a 3-hour session of the economic group just based on this very factor, how to accelerate the economic revival of the people of Pakistan, of Pakistan's economy, and job creation. That is one other metric. How does job creation come about? You can't go around and employing everyone in a government job. The communist countries tried it, but there's no other communist country left in the world. They've all gone by because they realize the inefficiencies that crept into the system. Thereby, what is important is that employment creation will come about with the industrial, agricultural, as well as service sector revival. They will have to become more competitive. The export targets of Pakistan will have to be met. The production targets in Pakistan have to increase. And one component of that happening is the energy variable. The energy variable is extremely important for our exports and our production. Once we get a handle on that, ladies and gentlemen, the markets are going to increase. Pakistani exports, our quality is second to none. And let me tell you, with our free trade agreement with China, Asian country ambassadors have been coming and meeting me, and they're saying they want their companies are approaching them, and they want to set up shop and manufacturing facilities within Pakistan so that they can export to the Central Asian republics as well as China. These are not small markets. And we are going to focus on the role of Afghanistan as well. Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely at the jugular vein of the region. Our focus on CPEC, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, it is critical for the progress of not just Pakistan, but for the region. It's going to be a link between the continent of Africa to the manufacturing base of China and the Central Asian republics and Pakistan itself. These are the geopolitical considerations we are looking at. We should be looking at how do we train our manpower to be more productive, value-added production facilities, be it in the sector of innovative electronics, value-added agriculture, information technology. All these things are going to happen with reliable and affordable energy sources in Pakistan, which is absolutely transparent. The interaction between the consumer, be it industrial or any other, with the departments should be minimized. The special industrial zones that we are creating, we want to make the process absolutely transparent, minimum transactional costs, reduce the cost of doing business. We've got the backbone of the internet technology available to us. We have to link that, which brings us to another aspect, Mr. Chairman, which is for you and your team and Mr. Shahid and Mr. Lodi and all the other professionals sitting here. And that is the role of today. What we are looking at is the distributed generation that is going to come about. We have to keep in mind that we have to have a completely open mind. Technology is changing at a very, very rapid rate. I keep on repeating this. There was a petroleum conference, and I repeated, I gave them a story. There was a company by the name of Kodak. Just raise your hand. Do any of you remember that company, Kodak company? Just raise your hands. Quite a few. Where is that company today? It's gone. They were involved in the film emulsion business. They forgot that there's a technology called digitalization of photography coming about. They didn't keep it on their radar screen. The company went out of business. And they used to have that motto, if you recall, it used to be called the Kodak moment, where they used to photograph or capture the perfect moment. The Kodak moment should not happen to the energy sector. You have to evolve. If we have to keep in mind that we are not going to allow newer technologies to come in, the Kodak moment will happen to the energy sector. We should not and cannot allow that to happen. And with that I mean that in our new policies that we are evolving, and all our team members are playing a vital and pivotal part in that, we are looking at net metering. We are looking at wheeling. We are looking at net metering at the micro level. So all these energies that are coming about, ladies and gentlemen, these are realities. And with all these demand and supply factors coming in together, you have to gauge. You have to gauge like never before. The role of NPCC, the role of PITC becomes paramount. Just today, just this morning, I was with our colleagues from PITC working on these very elements. That when you have a lot of energy coming into the grid from various small consumers, what happens to the grid level? What happens to the supply of energy? You have to forecast that. And just to give you the real-time, microsecond, millisecond calculations that are involved, let me just give to you that you take any of the third and fourth generation combat aircraft flying today in the air. If you take the onboard computer systems out, you can't fly the aircraft. The aircraft will crash. The reason being that those aircraft are as maneuverable as they are because they are inherently unstable. They are making more than 200 corrections per second to keep the aircraft flying. And what is doing it? It is the onboard flight management and control system, the onboard computers. What relevancy does that have to the system that is available to us today? Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, all these energy sources from the microgrids, from the net metering coming into the system today, be it at the 132, at the 11 kV level, all this energy coming into today, how do you forecast that? The role of artificial intelligence comes in, which has to be catered to in the demand forecasting, in the supply forecasting. All the renewable energy that is coming in, we have to look at that. The role of the distribution companies, that has to be, this year, our colleagues from the power sector know this year is the year of the distribution system. The government, the power ministry is increasing the retention that these companies are going to keep with them, so that at the end of the day, they can invest in their distribution system. We owe it to the people of Pakistan. For the first time, the previous Ramzan that we had, it was a trouble-free Ramzan, because my compliments to the distribution system, the DISCO chairman, be it ISCO, FESCO, across the board, all our distribution companies, as well as NTDC, they work day in and day out to de-bottleneck the constraints that they faced, so that we could transmit energy. And next year we are looking at transmitting more than 26,000 megawatts, inshallah ta'ala, by next summer. So these are the benchmarks that we have, and we have to make sure that the rings, the bottlenecks are cleared even further. I'm not going to go into the technical details, but these are the challenges we have. And what sort of a market do we have? If you look, when you talk to businessmen and you talk to investors, the first thing that comes to their mind, what is the market size we are looking at? What is the investment opportunity we are looking at? And just to give you a flavor, the General Electric people, the wind turbine people that come to see me, and I said, set up your assembly plant in Pakistan. One, it will create jobs. Number two, all the windmills, all those turbines, you're looking at increasing your renewable energy from today's base of 1,400 megawatts, 1.4 gigawatts, to approximately 8,000 megawatts by 2025, and more than 18,000 megawatts by the end of 2030. That is a large market. You can't be lugging around these windmills and turbines. The freight cost, if you assemble it in Pakistan, you can not only cater for Pakistan's market, but you can cater for the market of the region. And if you put a price tag to each one of these markets, let's look at generation. It's a $40 billion market sitting right there.